So boys and girls, you each discussed in your teams and shared out with me what type of government you would want to create, okay? Let's just rewind for a minute. We talked about how the colonists finally separated from Britain, and now they have to decide how they're going to run their states and the colonies. All of you said pretty much the same thing. You would want your government to be fair, okay? You wouldn't want the colonists to have too much freedom. You would want to have some rules and laws, but not too strict. So everyone pretty much, right, thumbs up, we all pretty much said the same thing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at our video, our anticipatory set, and what it's going to do is going to show you sort of a summary, or from the beginning to the end, or how our government works now, okay? I want you to listen to the video, and while you're watching it, I want you to think about what the main idea of the video is. You're going to discuss with your teams what the main idea of the video is when it's over, and then you're going to share out, okay? Any questions? Good? All right. Here we go. Bear with me.
Dear Tim and Moby, I need to know what's in the U.S. Constitution. From Jake. The Constitution is America's plan for government. It lays out how the U.S. government works and how we all fit into it. The framers of the U.S. Constitution tried to create a flexible way to govern that would take the country into the future. The Constitution is based on 7 principles: popular sovereignty, republicanism, federalism, separation of powers, limited government, checks and balances, and individual rights. Yeah, I'll explain them. Popular sovereignty means that the people rule. Well, it's not like direct rule, like I can't do whatever I want or create a law, but we, the people, elect representatives who make the laws. That's one of the principles of republicanism. Democrats. Oh, no, it just means that the United States is a republic. The people exercise their power by voting for political representatives. Federalism is a way of governing that shares power between the individual states and the nation as a whole. The Constitution gives delegated powers to the nation and sets aside reserved powers to the states. For example, the federal government has the power to print money and declare war. No state can do those things on its own. And individual states have powers to establish schools and make new marriage laws. There are also some powers that both the nation and the states share, like levying taxes. These are called concurrent powers. Of course, neither the state nor federal governments are allowed to enact laws that violate the Constitution. Articles 1, 2, and 3 of the Constitution split up the government's powers between the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. The separation of powers ensures that no one branch of government will have too much power. The legislative branch, which includes our representatives in Congress, makes the laws. The executive branch, which includes the president, enforces the laws. And the judicial branch, which includes the court system, is in charge of interpreting the laws. A system of checks and balances makes sure that the branches of government work together in a way that makes sense. Congress passes a law, but the president can veto it. Even if the president says okay, the Supreme Court might come in and say that that particular law violates a principle of the Constitution. So no one branch of government can do a whole lot without the okay of the other 2. The idea of limited government is intimately linked to the other principles. In a limited government, the government only has the powers granted to it by the Constitution and nothing more. If it tries to grab new powers, it's acting unconstitutionally. The framers limited the power of the federal government through the separation of powers and the system of checks and balances. They also limited it by granting all citizens individual rights that the government can't take away. These are outlined in the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. They include freedom of speech, the right to a jury trial, freedom of assembly, and protection against unfair searches. Well, that's the thing about the Constitution. Amendments can be proposed to it, and if they pass a very rigorous approval process, they can become part of the Constitution itself. The U.S. Constitution is a living, evolving document that can change with the times while still holding to the principles upon which the United States was founded. Whoa. you've written your own constitution? I think you're missing the point.
Okay, so, really quick, something that just jumped out at me. A lot of you said that you didn't want to give too much power to the government. So something that jumped out to me was limited power. And you also talked about the people having some rights. And I also saw individual rights. So I want you to talk in your teams for about a minute. And I want you to be able to give me the main idea of the video, what jumped out at you, maybe a quick summary, okay? And I'm going to call on the number 3s to share out. All right, any questions about what your task is? Go.
What I think the main idea of this was the U.S. Constitution, how it runs. Like the main idea.
What you said it and how it summarized, talk about something.
Right? Okay. And then something that popped out in mind was going to give you how like there's like the things that divided. There's one of the that makes a lot branches decide a lot, and the one. Yeah, and then the one that we sent out to like the people.
I don't hear a
And
lot
that,
happening.
that was like
Yes.
something, because I thought maybe
Yes,
they
these are numbers
did a
three.
lot.
You're gonna go to number three?
Place,
Yes.
yeah, like that's a place said, okay, we want this and they don't want this. So
Are we
that
ready?
was like
These are number
that
three.
really popped out.
Who's talking to that? You?
No, yeah.
Oh, Brianna. Okay. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Number 3s, please stand up. Okay, so this is just a segue into what we're going to be reading. I just want you guys to share out what you saw, some ideas, main ideas that you thought about the video, and what you discussed with your team. Let's start with you, Jeffrey. Go.
Well, the main idea of the video was how the Constitution was like, it was like just simple things, but like actually mean a lot to our government. It's like, it talked to us how we made the laws, like how different states like have certain things that they're allowed to do, and how the federal government would do stuff.
Okay, I like that. So the states have certain things that they do, and the federal government has certain things that they're going to do. All right? Add on for me, please, Ricardo.
That the Constitution has certain principles.
Constitution has 7 principles. Tell me more. You don't need to name them all, but what else may have jumped out at you? What was something maybe you learned or you were surprised about? You helping them out? It's okay.
Bill of Rights.
Okay, so you learned a little bit about the Bill of Rights. That's something we're going to be reading about. All right? Thank you. Go ahead, Brianna.
Main idea of the video was how the government runs and all
Yep. Go ahead. Keep going.
the laws
Okay.
and
Good. Okay. So Brianna said the video was mostly about how the government runs. Okay? It is how the government runs and how the government is designed or set up. So it's really aligned with our learning target, right? What we're talking about today is how the Constitution was designed. So this is a snapshot of how it was designed. Go ahead.
the branches it had the judicial branch, like they had like have freedom of speech, like jury and also have like protection for themselves.
Okay, so you gave me some pieces. One of the branches you talked about was the judicial branch. How many, thank you. So how many of you remember, super fast, how many of you remember how many branches there are?
3 members, 7 branches.
Okay, 3 branches. So Karima said something about judicial branch. Does anyone know the other 2? Do you remember?
The president and the second.
Okay, so which branch is involved with the president? Yes. Say it. Yes, the executive branch and Which branch makes the laws? Thank you, legislative branch, right?